Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Sorry.
What an amazing talk. Thank you so much, Rajan and Arun. And I think along with all the leadership pointers, I think one thing you all should remember very well. And before we move on, I wanted to request people, there is a hashtag they have for social media. It's hashtag IIT BayCon, B-A-Y for Bay Area, and CON for conference. So make sure whatever learnings you're getting from our sessions or whatever you want to share with your friends and family, put it out there, share the nuggets of wisdom you're collecting here, and pass it on to others as well. Now, next I would like to invite Meenakshi Palbasu. She is the president of IIT Bay Area Leadership, and she will come and introduce our next speaker. So give her a warm round of applause, please. Meenakshi.
Good morning. So I wanted to mention that, as the president of the IIT Bay Area alumni, I'm very excited and proud to announce a partnership with Alchemist Accelerator. So this collaboration will leverage Forbes magazine's platinum-rated accelerator platform to create an exclusive IIT track. The sole purpose of this track will be to promote the development of IIT alumni founders of startups from all IIT campuses. This signed memorandum that we have come up with calls for creating an IIT exclusive instance of Alchemist World, which will connect the founders with service providers, mentors, potential co-founders, alumni talent, angel investors, and other investors. So Ravi Belani is the managing partner at Alchemist Accelerator and a lecturer at Stanford University. He's the managing director of the Alchemist Accelerator, an enterprise seed accelerator backed by Cisco, DFJ, Khosla Ventures, Salesforce, Sapphire Ventures, and US Banking. Alchemist grads have gone on to build very successful companies. Ravi is a Phi Beta Kappa and Tau Beta Phi graduate at Stanford University, holding a BS degree with distinction and MS in Industrial Engineering. Ravi also holds an MBA from the Harvard Business School. Ravi.
Yeah, so.
Thank you, Meenakshi. And I should say thank you also to Aman and Indra for really having the leadership to strike the partnership and for inviting me here to speak today. It is a real honor for me to be here. And I have to say that the reason why I'm here is that I know that the next big innovation that will impact and move the world forward is in somebody's mind here today. And the whole intention behind this partnership is that if we can accelerate and materialize that idea that is just a glimmer of hope into reality, then we have done our job. And so in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to give a little bit of more details about exactly what the intention is behind the partnership, and then also just explain a little bit more about accelerators. I know that there will be questions, and so you're more than welcome to come and just chat with me after the 15 minutes is over. But before I begin, I should first give a disclaimer. As Meenakshi referenced, I was lucky enough to not have to go through the gauntlet of admission, and what it sounds like from Arun, the stringency of hazing of being an IIT graduate. So I was fortunate enough to just have to go through the comfortable US-based system, and I probably would not have gotten into IIT. But I am the descendant of an IIT alum. So my dad, Suresh Belani, graduated from IIT Madras. And then I also have two chachas who went to IIT Madras, and my cousin, Ishwar Belani, went to IIT Madras, and then Bhagwan and Jagdish Belani went to IIT Madras. And I will tell you that they are not just the smartest people in our family, they're intimidatingly smart. And so I always grew up with this reverence for IIT, and I understand how difficult and the level that you have to be performing at to be able to meet the IIT standards, which is why, I've seen the resources that are thrown upon comparable institutions in the United States when it comes to entrepreneurship. And the intention behind this program is to help galvanize those resources resources for the IIT community so that everybody's acting on the same playing field, which is deserved for the caliber of the alums that are coming out of IIT. So with that said, if anybody wants to connect with me, here's my contact information. And the key thing that I would say is that if this is at all of interest, the call to action afterwards is to go to the bit.ly link, which is listed there below, and to register so that you can get looped into the community when we extend the first offering to the community, which I'll explain in a second. So let me kick things off. Let me first start off by telling you who I am. So I spent 6 years as a venture capitalist at DFJ, and I was most famous for championing our investment in a company called Justin TV, which became Twitch, which got acquired by Amazon for $970 million. And then I also funded the first company that DFJ did out of Pune, which was Pubmatic or Combi in India. And that was really terrific and fantastic. I also teach entrepreneurship in the engineering school at Stanford, and we put all of our resources up online. If you go to ecorner.stanford.edu, and then I direct Alchemist. So Alchemist is funded by 5 VCs, including many sponsoring partners who are IIT alums. So we're funded by Coastal Ventures, DFJ, Foundation, USVP, and Mayfield. And then we also have a dozen corporates, and you can see those names up here. And what we do is right now we give small investments into a lot of companies here. Typically $36,000 we're giving to 70 companies a year, and we run a 6-month program out of San Francisco focused on companies that are monetizing from enterprises. Your users can be consumers, but if you're monetizing from enterprises, you qualify. And we were rated the top accelerator 2016 by CV Insights in terms of the amount of money that our companies raise. Y Combinator was number 2, and Techstars number 3. We were generally viewed as a top-rated accelerator. And these are the stats. About half of our companies that graduate will close institutional capital, and they've raised around $600 million. And we've had a bunch of acquisitions. And these are some of the companies that raised a lot of money. I just show you this so you can see the caliber of the VC funds that have backed the companies that have come out of Alchemist. Now, let me talk about what the intention is behind the Alchemist IIT partnership. And I should first say that what we've done to date is just struck a mutual commitment to be committed towards the exploration and development of this program. But really, we want to do 2 things. The first is we know that the wealth of the IIT community is inside the IIT community itself, but we haven't galvanized that in a way that is as effective as it needs to be. And our intention with this is to first roll out software, which is basically a web-based interface, to galvanize the community together. And this is regardless of if you're participating in Alchemist Accelerator or not, but just if you want access to any of the mentors or any of the support network within the IIT alumni community, we want to make that smoother. And also if you want to give back to the community, if you are somebody who wants to be a mentor, or if you're a service provider, or some other, or an investor, you'll be invited into the network. So the first goal of this is to create a platform where IIT alums can help themselves. And this is not intended to be exclusive to the IIT, just the Bay Area Alumni Startup Association. We're not trying to be competitive with any other organizations that are there to serve the IIT alumni committee. Really, the intention here is to really avail the software for any IIT alumni affiliated organization, is to bring the whole IIT alumni community together. And so if you do register on this bit.ly link, it's sort of hard to read. It's just the bit.ly/I, and then lowercase Alchemist. We will extend you an invitation to join the network community when we roll it out. Now, it may be a few months before we roll it out, because what we're trying to do is do this in a very deliberate way. So we're trying to line up the resources to support the community, which is going to also require us getting the cash to do so. So we're going to be in the process of doing that in the next few months. And we might roll it out in pieces, but if you register here, you'll be looped in. You don't have to choose to take the invitation, but if you at least register here, you'll get the invitation to be plugged into the community. And then the second thing that we are doing is we're going to be building going to be a spike for a subset of the IIT alumni community that want to go deeper. So if instead of just dipping your toe in the water with the community network and having the community help you out, if you do want to go deeper, we're also trying to build out the funding resources to provide capital for IIT alums. This is all TBD, so there's nothing to officially announce yet. We'll be talking to the financing partners. But the idea here is to have a dedicated track, which is going to be part of the existing Alchemist program, but have special resources for just IIT alums. That includes potentially extra funding if you're an IIT alum, sweeter economics. So there will still be some equity that's going to be required because we need to pay for the funding that we're going to be having for the IIT alums. But the intention is to give a sweetheart deal if you're an IIT alum. And then you'll have also potentially more structured, dedicated resources just for that subset of the community that wants to go into the track. Now, I know there's going to be a question about why should I give up equity to do an accelerator? Everybody who's entrepreneurial is naturally entrepreneurial, and so if you can get things done without needing to give up equity or to any costs on a track, that's a natural question. And I should first say that our intention is to build the original platform so that you don't need to do an additional program if you don't want to. The accelerator track is really just designed to deepen if you want deeper and more structured involvement. And really what the accelerator track is it's exactly what the name implies. It's an accelerator. So the idea is to provide a structured path really to four things: mentorship, traction, fundraising, and a community. And to do that, you're going to have a dedicated set of people that are going to be supporting you, and then you have to make a decision if it's worthwhile. What I would say is the reality is that most companies don't die because the ideas are bad ideas. If you die as a company, you're going to die because you'll hit the end of your runway and you won't have taken off. You won't have strategically made the decisions in order to get the cash to take off as a company. And so much of your survival at the beginning is the decisions on what you prioritize and what you don't. And if you get those decisions wrong, you can get caught in this quicksand where everything you're doing seems logical, but you don't take off. Horowitz, Andreessen Horowitz, he famously said, it takes as much work to start a mediocre business as it does to start a huge business, so you might as well go huge. And what you meant by that is if you talk to any entrepreneur who's not succeeding, they're not working any less. Or if you talk to any entrepreneur who's doing a small-sized business, they're in fact working harder in many cases than an entrepreneur that's building the next unicorn. Because if you actually go bigger, the reality is that there's more resources that are going to be thrown at you. And so what we're trying to do is structure those things so that you have alignment to go big, you get the resources so that you can take off in time. The other big advantage of accelerators is that statistically there is privileged access to investors to get funding. And we're particularly famous for high fundraising rates, but the data on this across overall accelerators is that you have sort of a 35% chance of getting funded if you're a graduate of a top accelerator, generically speaking, and 4% if you're if you're just doing it on your own. That doesn't mean that you can't, and especially if you're from an IIT background, you already have the privileged access, but the accelerators can also provide facilitated access to that. And then it's structured access to customers. We have a ton of Fortune 500 companies that are looking to do procurements and partnerships. Sometimes it's hard to get access to these companies, and a program can give you facilitated access to that. And then, the biggest thing, which is something that's hard to quantify, which is always why it's hard to sort of sell an accelerator, is the community that you're going to emerge around you, both from your peers that will hopefully become lifelong friends, but also the mentors that you'll build connections with. It's very hard to quantify that, but having that lifelong community is something that's very difficult to build on your own. You can do it on your own, you just need to be extremely proactive. Whereas, as you know, just as the IIT alumni is an amazing community, tapping into a structured program that already does that for you can just save you time and can create really great rewards. What I would say though, and this is one of our coaches also talks about how it will force
is, I mean, you kind of raised the bigness question, like essentially. Going bigger is one thing, like, but then going deeper is also quite important. Like, I mean, there are quite a few companies that in recent times, especially, like, that have grown quite big, like, but we cannot clearly say, like, Twitter or Facebook kind of really solve the deep problem. Like, it's much more shallower. But, you know, there's quite a few problems that need to go big and deep.
Yes.
So what's your opinion about that? Like, and especially like needs of VCs, and you really appreciate that need for kind of solving some deeper problems as well. At the same time, go big. Like.
I love this question. So I completely agree. And in fact, you know, when we say, you know, everybody's sort of proud of Uber and Twitter, and when I think when you look at those companies, you say, really, are those really deep tech companies that are moving the world forward? I would encourage you to go deeper. And I actually think that if you do go deeper, it's easier because there are more resources thrown at you. But the difficulty is understanding how to thread the needle to get funded. As an example, one of our companies that raised the most amount of money is called Rigetti. They're a quantum computing company. When they started in Alchemist, everybody said, oh, quantum computing is a research project. It's not something that's going to be a venture-backed business. But they ended up raising $120 million. We also have a company that's building an antimatter platform. It's a SpaceX spin-out. They want to use antimatter to go to Mars. And I use both of these examples because they're deep tech, okay? But the antimatter company has not been able to take off yet. It's an awesome company called Positron, but they were not able to cross that gap. The question is why? And the issue is that if you're trying to go deep, your game plan is that you need to you need to sub-segment your strategy so that before you get to the $100 billion vision, you've segmented out where the $1 billion market is and the $10 billion market is. So with Rigetti, with quantum computing, and with most VCs, you need to show a business that can be monetized within a 24-month time frame.
Just quickly clarify, like, depth is not just measured in terms of technical depth, like, also in terms of human pain point, like traffic. We are working on traffic condition problems. Like,
So any point, and I'm out of time, so I appreciate this, and I don't want to be dismissive of it. Anything where you're going after something that's high impact, the issue is going to be converging. How do you get the cash to support that against the impact that you want to have? And so that's what you need to navigate. For the VCs, the way you need to do that is sub-segment a smaller, shorter-term market that can attract the interest of the VCs for a monetization of it. So for example, with Positron, which is the antimatter company, before we talk about we're going to go to Mars, you can use positrons or antimatter particles for semiconductor quality control. So that will be like the initial vertical that we'll say we're attacking. If you just do that, it's $1 billion. So similarly, if you're trying to do deep social impact, before you say that we're going to, get rid of malaria or whatever, think about how you can apply that technology towards a more intermediate market that is small.